I guess I just got to ask, when did the idea of retirement first cross your mind?
Well, it's probably been crossing my mind for a while because my wife Ann has been retired for coming on 11 years. And she's saying, when are you going to retire? I said, well, when the Lord tells me it's time, I guess it's time to retire. And I started slowing down a little bit, you know, and all of a sudden, early trips, late arrivals, and work. Preparation is the big part of the play-by-play job. I don't know if you can emphasize that enough, but to do a 1.5, 2.5 hour basketball game, football game, you're going to put about 8 hours, 9 hours in. If you're playing 2-3 games a week, it's a lot of work. And I like the work, but all of a sudden you're moving a little slower, and I think it's time to slow down. And so basically, I'm going to keep my fingers in the sports play-by-play business, but I'm stepping away from all the other stuff, TV shows, radio shows, daily minutes. I just love play-by-play. I'm going to give it another shot, one more year, and if I'm feeling a little better, maybe another, who knows? And but I'm calling the shots. And so I would think late basketball season this year that I said it's time. And the season ended sort of abruptly in New York City, and came home, and Ann and I talked about it, and I said, you know, it's probably time.
And I know you said when the news came out, Mike Norvell called you.
Coach Norvell called and said, Gene, we appreciate everything you've done for our football team and our program, everything you've done in the past and everything you've done for me. And I said, Coach, I really appreciate the telephone call, and I can't wait to do the Garnet and Gold game on April the 9th. And Coach, I'm going to say, touchdown FSU-Garnet, touchdown FSU-Gold.
You going to count those towards the touchdown Florida
No,
State number?
they won't count.
Gotcha.
Spring game, you know, it's sort of unique. When I first moved to Tallahassee, Florida, I was not the play-by-play announcer of FSU football. The late Bob Shackleton was the play-by-play voice, but he was also the vice president of alumni affairs. And so he had busy responsibilities on spring weekend. So guess who did the spring Garnet and Gold games? Moi. And so when the job came available in 1979, my resume tape had play-by-play with guys like Ron Simmons, Jimmy Jordan, Wally Woodham, Jackie Fly. I mean, players that the selection committee knew. The late Tom East, he had play-by-play from the Delaware Blue Hens, which he had done when he was in college. And then Craig Sager, the late Craig Sager, he had some high school football video. Those are the three finalists. And I think they recognized those Ron Simmons, Jimmy Jordan, Wally Woodham names a little better than who the Mud Hens were. And I was fortunate to have that resume tape. So I will begin my career doing spring football games. I will end my career doing another Garnet and Gold game. But I will not add those touchdowns to my touchdown FSU count, which is at 2175. I think I made an error and added another 43 touchdowns to the official number that I gave to Florida State, but it's 2175.
You know, Gene, when we get a chance to talk on Friday, you were telling me just how many phone calls you've taken, how many text messages you've taken. I know you get people who come up to you and thank you and want to meet you all the time, but now, somewhat with the benefit of hindsight, what is this outpouring from fans, from friends? What has this been like?
Well, I'll tell you, you really don't know until you say it's time, and all of a sudden there's an awful lot of folks that listen to Gene Deckerhoff over the years. And after church on Sunday, Ed and I go out for a little bite to eat, and it was amazing. I mean, you know, Gene, we're going to miss you. We love you. And I'm just absolutely honored, to be honest, and I never get tired of folks saying, we love to hear Florida State football on the radio. And somebody else is going to take over the mantle, and you're going to still hear touchdown FSU, touchdown Florida State. And I think you're going to hear a lot more of them this year with Mike Norvell in his third year as the head coach at Florida State.
Have any interesting colleague calls over the last 4
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, you know, before the announcement was made on Friday, I called every one of my teammates on the Seminole radio network that I have worked with over the years. I first call, bar none, had to call bar none, who lives just outside Orlando. Then all of the fellows that I've worked with, Andy Surratt, Chris Culp, who's been our producer engineer, Adrian Crawford, who has been my analyst on basketball for the last two, Keith Jones, who for 20 years was the color analyst on the Seminole Basketball Sports Network, and I'm probably leaving out a few there, but no, I had to call all of my teammates and let them know you're going to read something. And first thing I did was call my three sons, let them know, and then I started with bar none and down the list. And Jonathan Shalace lives in Colorado, no, Denver. He was our producer for about 5 years. He sent a text message and I responded. And oh golly, well, I guess names out of the past. Our producers from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with now Learfield, used to be IMG, and Ryan Penzie, who was the producer before Shalace. I mean, so we've all communicated, and they've all said, "Hey, congratulations! We're proud for you. Enjoy retirement, and keep doing what you're doing." So no, a lot of connections with a lot of people. And I probably have left out a lot that I probably need to get back and start texting to and telephoning to, but I think I'll have plenty of time to do that.
I love that video of you for the Benjamin catch.
Oh yeah, it's caught.
You're there and you're just trying your best
the
with
video.
insanity, and Shalace and Floyd are high-fiving and hugging, and you're just trying your best to keep composure there.
Yeah, and Penzie took that video too with his phone.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that brings back a lot of memories. You know, I broadcast baseball for a number of about 24 years on Sunshine Network, and Keith and I, Tom Block and I call Tom also, by the way, and but we enjoyed doing the baseball, and I was fortunate to broadcast a game with Link Jarrett, who's now the head coach at Notre Dame. And Link had played for us and was a tremendous All-American baseball player and assistant coach, got the head coaching job, and I guess at UNC, I think at Mercer, then UNC Greensboro, now at Notre Dame. And he and I broadcast a game that Marshall McDougal hit 6 home runs in and drove in 24 total bases, and I've 26, I guess it is, total bases. He had a double and 6 home runs, so yeah, 26. And those are NCAA records that may never be broken, and I don't think so. But I was fortunate. That's one of the highlights of my career, by the way. I got the box score that I kept, the little scorecard that I had laminated. I should have gotten Marshall's autograph, but I did not.
That game was at Maryland.
It was at Maryland, yeah, a short porch, Bird Stadium. No, it wasn't Bird. That was a football stadium. But it was a short. I think center field, the fence was like 295. So it was a home run hitter's. It was a home run hitter's paradise.
It was a batter's dream.
Yeah.
So you originally called Florida State football as spring games. You did a little bit of color before you took over as play-by-play coach.
Well, in 1975, my first full year in Tallahassee, Florida. Former head coach Bill Peterson was scheduled to do the color analyst with Bob Shackle, and he came down with a back issue. I don't know exactly what it was, but he called the university and said, "I can't do the football. I've got to rest my back." And so John Bridgers, the director of athletics at the time, gave me a call and said, "I need to talk to you." And I went in, and he said, "I'd like to have you do the analyst and work with Bob for this season." So I did do one season of analyst. I do the pregame show, do the halftime, and they used to say the color announcers. So I said, "The band looks great today, you know. How about them Noles, you know?" And that's about all I knew about football at the time. I mean, I had done football play-by-play, but as far as an analysis, you know, what the secondary is doing, the stuff that I've learned over the years, that wasn't a very good job. But I enjoyed the experience, and I'll never forget. I think President Marshall told me after the season, we interviewed him in the season finale at Houston, and he indicated to me that he thought Coach Mood was going to be with us the next year if things were moving forward. And he left, and Bobby was hired, and that was the transition. And then 1979, I started doing play-by-play, FSU football, and to add to basketball. And I was working at the time in radio, and then moved into television in 1976, Channel 27, and then Channel 6 in 78. And television. In 1979, the job came open, so I had the resume tape with Ron Simmons, Jimmy Jordan, Wally Woodham, and Florida State Seminoles, and I also was working on television in Tallahassee, Florida, so that may have helped me get the job. So thank you, Channel 6.
So,
Thank you, Channel 6.
You talked about it a little bit earlier. Almost poetic that you're going to call the spring game?
I think, I don't know about poetic. It won't be an iambic pentameter, which is the only thing I know about poetry, to be honest with you. But no, poetic maybe, but it won't be poetry. I guess ironic. I don't think irony is the word either. But to me, I thought it would be the perfect bookend to bookend for a season or a career of broadcasting Florida State football. And that's why I said, "Hey, can I do the spring game?" And Learfield said, "Absolutely, you're doing the spring game."
So, almost 50 years calling basketball.
Yeah.
Long time here in TV. Over 40 doing football. Did you ever think when you got the job calling Seminole Basketball and Tiny Tully Gym, Hugh Durham's stalking the sideline, did you ever think that it would end almost 50 years later calling the rise of what's become one of the greatest athletic programs in college sports.
Well, you know, Ryan, you go back to those days in Tiny Tully Gym and the Crow's Nest, and you'd look over next to you, and doing the Metro Game of the Week was a guy named Bob Costas, who worked at St. Louis Radio and was involved with the Metro Conference Radio Sports Network. And everybody knows Bob went on to do greater things. I stayed at Tully Gym, and then in 1981 we moved to the Civic Center, the Leon County Civic Center, and now the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center. And that was, to me, that was the biggest thing ever happened to Florida State basketball, and something I think Hugh Durham always wanted, but he did not. So the second game ever played at the Tucker Center was Florida State versus Georgia, when Hugh was the head coach. He had left Florida State in '78 and was the head coach. He had a guy by the name of Dominique Wilkins, and we couldn't stop him. And it was a good ball game, but we didn't win. And that was the Hugh's memory back. And at the basketball reunion this year, Morris McCone, who was Hugh's #1 assistant at the time and chief recruiter, left here and went on to the NBA, was the head coach, I think, of the San Antonio Spurs for a while, and finished his career in the NBA, still a consultant, I believe. But Morris said, "Gee, how long have you been here? I can't believe it. 40, 50 years? I said, "Yeah, about 48. And he said, "Man alive." He said, "I can't believe that." And, you know, I started thinking at that reunion, you know, I've been here a long time. And that may have had a part to do with the decision to sort of step aside and let somebody younger do Florida State basketball, Florida State football, and just kick it up a notch, you know.
So we know you've said that you're going to stay with the Bucks for now.
Yeah.
With your commitment, see what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Did Tom Brady coming back make that a little easier?
Well, you know, that happened on a Sunday, and I'm watching the selection show. You know, I knew that Florida State was not going to be in the NCAA tournament, but I had my fingers crossed that FSU would be invited to the NIT, and I was a little disappointed that we did not get the invite. I watched the whole show. It started at 9 o'clock, and they went through the 32, and we were not there, even with a winning record. And if there's 100 teams better than Florida State, I don't know who they are. But the selection committee sort of let us go. You know, we had so many injuries. We lost some games we probably never should have lost. And we won some games, particularly the Virginia game, that who knew you're going to make a shot with 1 second left to beat somebody. One of the highlights of my career, by the way, calling that Noles win, Noles win. And that was right up there with a Michael Stair buzzer beater against Duke to beat the Blue Devils at Cameron Indoor Stadium for just the second time in school history. But yeah, no, I was watching the selection show, and they break in there to say Tom Brady's coming back. He's out of retirement. I mean, it was even on the news. You go to Fox News, it's on the news that Tom Brady's coming back. And, you know, I had already made the decision, but I said, man, wouldn't that be great to get another Super Bowl ring? Tom owes me one. I thought we were going to get one last year. We got one, and I thought we were going to get one last year, and maybe I'll add a third Super Bowl ring to my collection.
Gino, I suppose I'll ask you, because, you know, you brought up the buzzer beater at Virginia.
Yeah.
4th and 14.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for this to be your last go-around with Florida State, you had some pretty great calls in that farewell season.
Yeah, we've had some great memories. Florida State football, none better, and Florida State basketball. There's nothing better than a buzzer beater. They'll be talking about Christian Laettner's half-court shot to beat Kentucky forever, than the regional finals, you know. But that's Duke. That's in the Duke memory bank, you know. But I think that's Christian doing a beer commercial now, if I'm not mistaken. He got a little beer with a blue Hawaiian. I think that's who he is. Anyway. But no, those are Florida State memories that we'll never forget. And I'll tell you what, Charlie Ward in 1991, our final game in the Metro Conference, we come back from down 19 points in the second half to beat a very good Louisville team. And we win the Metro Conference Championship to get invited to the NCAA tournament. That was one of the most memorable. Obviously, December the 15th, 1991, our very first ACC basketball game. We go to the Dean Smith Center, and the place is packed. Everybody's wearing light blue. And who are these new guys, these Florida State Seminoles? And Sam Cassell and Charlie Ward. We were missing a couple players that had gotten suspended for a game. And we went into Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and stunned the world. And Sam Cassell said, you know, that's a wine and cheese crowd up there in North Carolina. And every time we go there, they got wine and they got cheese, and they're not a wine and cheese crowd anymore. Thank you, Sam Cassell. But those are great memories that we've had, you know, and one that we lost, and one I'll never forget. And I think it's still the record. We're at Tiny Tully Gym, and I believe the year was 1979, and we're playing Virginia Tech. And we had a chance to win that ball game. We missed a free throw, and a guy grabs the basketball on the baseline, falling out of bounds, and heaves it. And I'm watching at Tully Gym, and it goes through the basket. That's the game winner. And I'll never forget that shot. I wish we'd have won. I wish that would have been our guy, but it was not. And one of our trips to Castle Coliseum within the last 10 years. I think it was like the 30th or 40th anniversary, maybe the 45th anniversary of that game-winning shot, and I'm trying to think of the fellow's name that made it, but he was left-handed and he heaved it right-handed, which was another part of, I guess, what you'd call history. But that was a great one. Ian Miller made a buzzer beater to beat Virginia up there. Snare beat them in Tallahassee at the Civic Center. But we've had some great basketball games. Florida State versus Louisville, Metro Conference Championship 1998. And it was a basketball game, finished 95-94 or 94-93. And they beat us by 1. And they had a freshman on that team that just couldn't miss. And that was a loss, but still, it's one of the great basketball games in Florida State history. I wished I could have done the 72 national championship game against UCLA. We don't have audio of that game. There's a film, 60mm film, that you could see the game and hear the network announcers. But the late Bill Owens broadcast that game, and his family searched all over his house and all the relatives, and they could not find a cassette or a reel-to-reel or anything of that broadcast. But how about this? Did Gene have a great career? How about Bill Owens? He broadcast the NCAA World Series championship game that went extra innings and a 2-1 loss to Southern Cal, and he also broadcast the Final Four, Florida State versus UCLA, and we finished second place in the NCAA. I'd say Bill Owens had a tremendous career broadcasting Florida State football and basketball.
Yes, sir, he did. Gene, I know we've probably taken enough of your time, so I just wanted to ask, where are you and Ann going first? What are you doing first? You going to go see I know Coach Martin and Carol went to go see the Holy Land. Where you guys go?
Well, I've been to the Holy Land, and I see the Holy Land every Sunday at Emmanuel Baptist Church. But our first trip is the Monday after the Garnet and Gold game. Ann and I will go to St. Augustine. Our youngest son, Eric, will take care of our puppy dogs for that week and take care of our house, and we'll be out of town for about 4 days. And we love St. Augustine. My mother was raised there, and I spent an awful lot of my childhood there. And the town has grown up. It is a great place to go to. So there. And then we'll have a trip later on. We'll go to one of my favorites, Bar Harbor. I eat lobster every night. You know, my pictures you have on the wall at WCTV, I was skinny. That was before I started going to Bar Harbor and eating lobster for lunch, lobster for dinner. I love lobster, but that's the only place I eat it. I don't eat lobster anywhere else except Bar Harbor, Maine. That's where I eat lobster. Then after that, we discovered a beautiful place in Mackinac Island in the upstate between the Upper Peninsula, and we've been there twice, and we're going to go back again this year. And by then, you'll get into July, and we got to find a cool place to go to. And I don't know where we'll go then, but we've taken grandchildren to Yellowstone National Park multiple times. I'd say we've been to Yellowstone maybe 10 times. Taken all of our grandchildren there at least once, some twice. Our oldest, I think, has been 3 times. We've been to Glacier National Park. We've been to Yosemite National Park. Been down to the desert, you know, and traveled to Bryce Canyon. It's just the Grand Canyon, obviously, but so we've seen that, and we just want to go find. And my grandson said, "Well, how come you and Mimo go to the same place every year?" Because we feel comfortable there. We know our way around. There's not a language barrier. I think our overseas trips have probably come to an end. I'm still trying to learn Italian, but I forget it every football season. Got to start all over from brand new. Buongiorno. That's about it. Ciao.
Gene, anything we missed that you want to add?
I think we've covered all the bases. It's been a great run, man. It's been a really great run, and I miss Bobby. I really miss Bobby, and those are some great memories. I think Mike's going to do a heck of a job with his football program. I know he will. And Leonard's going to keep doing his thing. Mike Jr. is going to, I think, get us to the promised land and win a World Series. You know, his dad came so close, so close. I never went to a World Series game because I could not broadcast on the baseball, on the TV or the radio, so I did not go. But I know, free. Let's go to Omaha, go to the new stadium, not Rosenblatt. But I was scheduled to go one year to do TV for Channel 6. For radio, and I was working at Channel 6, and Bob Warren, he and I were the sports guy, he got in an accident and was unable to work the week of the World Series, and as a result, my news director said, "You can't go to Omaha." So I came that close to going to Omaha and broadcast. I think we were 2 in barbecue, but I mean, it would have been an experience that I would love to have done. My parents went. They had an RV. They went out 2 or 3 years to Omaha and cheered the Noles on and stayed. When we had to leave, they'd stay and watch the whole thing. And they met a lot of great fans, a lot of great people from other schools sitting in the parking lot in their motorhome.